In The Righteous Mind, Jonathan Haidt, a social psychologist, asks an important question. Why do people with good intentions often disagree so intensely about political and religious issues? To answer this, he explores the roots of our moral beliefs, our ideas of right and wrong, and how these beliefs shape our thinking and behavior. He argues that we're often more driven by our gut feelings than by logical thought, and these feelings create strong bonds but also sharp divisions, especially when it comes to values. The book is divided into 3 main parts, each of which examines a different reason why people end up divided over what they believe. Part 1. Why gut feelings drive our moral judgments. The elephant and the rider. Haidt introduces the idea of the elephant and the rider to show how our mind works. The elephant represents our emotions and gut reactions, while the rider is our logical thinking. In reality, the elephant is usually in control, meaning our first reactions come from feelings, and the rider, our rational mind, often just goes along for the ride, explaining and justifying what the elephant already decided. So, when we make a moral decision, we typically do it based on how we feel rather than careful thinking. Only after that decision do we come up with reasons for why we made it. For example, if someone believes strongly in protecting the environment, it's likely they feel it's the right thing to do. And then their reasoning follows that feeling rather than the other way around. Social influence on our morals. Haidt explains that our moral beliefs are often shaped by the people around us, like our friends, family, or community. People rarely come to their views on their own. Instead, they are influenced by those they respect or want to fit in with. This means that a lot of our moral judgments aren't just personal, they're social. When people make arguments about right and wrong, they're usually trying to persuade others or gain approval, not necessarily trying to find the truth. The role of justifying our beliefs. According to Haidt, when we reason about moral issues, we're usually trying to defend our beliefs rather than question them. This means that we tend to look for information that supports what we already believe and ignore information that doesn't fit. This can make it very difficult to see things from other perspectives, especially when it comes to political or religious beliefs. Part 2. More to morality than right and wrong. The foundations of morality. Haidt introduces 6 moral foundations that he believes make up our sense of right and wrong. These are the basic ideas that people care about when they're making moral judgments. Care, harm, wanting to care for others and prevent harm to them. Fairness, cheating. Valuing fairness and not wanting people to cheat or lie. Loyalty, betrayal. Feeling loyalty to one's group or community and opposing betrayal. Authority, subversion. Respecting authority and tradition, not wanting rebellion. Sanctity, degradation. Feeling that some things are sacred and shouldn't be violated or corrupted. Liberty, oppression. Wanting freedom and disliking oppression or control by others. Haidt found that people don't value these 6 foundations equally. They put more emphasis on some than others. In particular, people who lean left politically or liberal tend to value care and fairness the most, while those who lean right or conservative care about all 6 foundations more evenly. Because liberals focus heavily on reducing harm and creating fairness, they're likely to support policies that aim to protect vulnerable people or reduce inequality. Conservatives, however, also prioritize loyalty, authority, and sanctity, so they're more likely to support policies that promote traditional values or respect authority. This difference in priorities is a big reason why liberals and conservatives often misunderstand and disagree with each other so strongly. Why different values lead to political division. These different values explain why liberals and conservatives see the world so differently. Liberals care most about protecting people from harm and making sure everyone is treated fairly, which is why they often support programs aimed at helping the poor, protecting the environment, and fighting for equality. Conservatives, on the other hand, care about these things too, but they also prioritize loyalty to their community, respect for tradition, and freedom from too much government control. This balance makes them more likely to support policies that uphold tradition, national pride, or individual freedom. Haidt emphasizes that these different sets of values aren't about one side being better than the other. Rather, they reflect different aspects of human nature that have evolved over time. But because each side sees morality through a different lens, it's easy for them to misunderstand each other, leading to the kind of polarization we see today. Part 3. How morality brings us together and drives us apart. Evolution and group behavior. In the last part of the book, Haidt explains that our moral instincts evolved not just to help us as individuals, but also to help us live in groups. Humans have always had to work together to survive, and over time, certain moral traits like caring for others and being loyal to the group were passed down because they made groups stronger. Haidt argues that humans have a hive switch, an instinct that helps us feel part of something bigger than ourselves. This switch can be activated in certain situations, like religious gatherings, sports events, or social movements, when people feel deeply connected to a larger group and act selflessly for the group's benefit. However, this same instinct can make us hostile to people outside of our group if we feel that they threaten our group's values or beliefs. Sacred values and moral boundaries. Haidt explains that many groups hold certain beliefs as sacred values, ideas that are seen as so important they're non-negotiable. In politics and religion, sacred values can create rigid boundaries that make it hard for people to compromise or understand each other. If one group views something as sacred while another doesn't, it's very hard for them to find common ground. Each person has a moral matrix, or a mental framework they use to make moral decisions. These frameworks vary widely, shaped by culture, religion, or political affiliation. When people operate within different moral matrices, they interpret the same issues in completely different ways. For instance, a conservative might see a protest against the government as disrespectful, while a liberal might see it as standing up for justice. Because of these differences, it's often hard for each side to understand the other's perspective. Religion, politics, and the role of morality. Haidt also discusses how religion and politics shape our morals and bring people together in powerful ways. Religion has long created strong bonds by uniting people around common beliefs and practices. Similarly, political ideologies provide a framework for people to rally around a common vision for society. However, both religion and politics can also make people blind to other perspectives, intensifying divisions when groups clash over differing sacred values. Learning to appreciate moral differences. Haidt argues that understanding these differences is essential if we want to reduce polarization and promote social harmony. By recognizing that people have different moral priorities, we can be more empathetic and less quick to judge. Instead of seeing someone with different views as bad or misguided, we can start to see that they simply care about different moral issues. Haidt believes that moral diversity isn't inherently divisive. Rather, it's the lack of understanding that causes problems. If we broaden our understanding of different moral foundations, we might become more open-minded and better able to talk to those we disagree with. This doesn't mean we have to agree on everything, but it can help us respect each other's beliefs and values. Conclusion. Moving forward with greater understanding. In The Righteous Mind, Haidt explains why people who mean well often end up so divided. By looking at how our gut reactions, social influences, and deeply held values shape our moral beliefs. He helps us understand why we see things differently and why these differences create such strong bonds and such deep divisions. Haidt's message is ultimately one of humility. Rather than viewing people with opposing views as wrong or bad, he encourages us to appreciate the range of moral values that make up human nature. In doing so, we can become more respectful and open-minded, building bridges rather than walls in a world that is often divided along moral lines. Aside from being an important work in the field of moral psychology, the original text is a tremendously fun read. I encourage you to track it down. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Jub gloiblio glup.